Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning into the ZZPerformance Power Hour. We got episode 123 coming at you with 101 ways to build a Chevy Sonic with ZZPerformance here. And I was just thinking, we have 3 full street trim Z04 Sonics above 300 wheel horsepower sitting in the front parking lot right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, one's in the back. Well,
yeah, and then we got like a 600 horsepower one on the lift, getting a fancy, some good parts put into. I'll just leave it at that.
And what's cool is that all of those are not on like any fancy fuel.
No, it's it's 100%.
We're just running pump E85.
Yep. It's 100% off the shelf build. No fancy tricks or anything.
Although Wall Purple's going to need more injectors soon.
Yeah, we are on the limits of the injector with the new.
We couldn't run the current boost level on full E.
No,
Yeah.
no, I had to add a little bit of gas to dyno that.
Well, good thing we're only at 60s.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
but after seeing the injector data, the injector pulse,
That's
of the
why
80s,
I was doing
I'm like,
that testing. Like, it would run.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of dynoing this week on Sonics.
I know.
Testing,
and
tuning,
I have
tweaking.
so much more to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not changing 60s. I'm gonna keep 60s in it. If I have to mix, I'll mix.
There is something to be said about the idle quality and performance of the
drivability of 60s is hard.
Great.
Yeah.
Like those 60s.
Which is funny when people tried to talk crap on it. Because like
B&R talks crap about our 60s.
Well,
they're amazing.
The specific reason I said people, though, is because it wasn't just him. It was like people just buying into the hype.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, when that argument first came up, I looked into it. Because, like, if I'm going to take a stand on something, I do some research. I've always been that way.
Yep.
And I had a theory, but I went and actually did the digging on it. And it's right there in the ECU. Like, yeah, Sonic spray on a closed valve once they come up to temp. A lot of port injection cars do. So is it possible that the stability of idle during the overnight cold start before there's any heat to vaporize the fuel could have a difference? Yes.
It's not a non-zero.
It's not a non-zero.
Well, to add to what you said after you mentioned that, I noticed when I cold start my car and I back out of the garage, I can smell E85 on that 20-foot
because that's the one spot where they're not so great.
Yeah.
Because when the engine is completely cold, it is spraying on the intake stroke, so you are relying somewhat on the injector's atomization.
Yeah.
But as soon as the engine's up to temp, it shifts the injection angle so that it actually sprays the next round's fuel as soon as the intake valve closes, so that it has the most amount of time possible to boil off from the heat on the intake valve. Whatever doesn't boil off by the time the next one comes around, it's the shear force of the moment that valve opens, the air, I'm not going to go on record, but like supersonic or near supersonic, I'm sure most engines at initial point, it is supersonic right there. But that's the same, like, I'm amazed how many people have never done this trick, but I always talk about the 2 McDonald's straws, how you can blow your drink into someone's face. So that action happens the moment the valve opens, theoretically, with whatever fuel is remaining. So that's how you get your 2-part vaporization, atomization, and as long as the injector isn't a laser dart,
not a garden hose,
right? It's going to be fine. Especially
a Lucas 42.
Yeah.
Right.
Two darts of
jets.
Fuel, like,
which we don't even run in a Sonic, so.
Yeah. Cynical Simpson. Yeah. Randy Daly's one. I Daly one.
That's why we have so many of them here.
And guess what? This guy right here, Bo, right here.
He's convinced on it now.
He's like interested.
Yeah.
Like he's like, hey, find
Dude,
like.
I sent you that white one for $8. Did you see that?
I haven't seen the one you sent me. I seen the one that Tyler was looking at.
Bo wants an RS hatchback white car that's been taking care of its life because he doesn't want a S box.
Must be Manuel.
Manual RS under 15 would be reasonable to look at. I'd like it under 10, but I know that's asking a lot. But yeah,
well, that one was up for $8 and it had some ZZP goodies on it.
I would like
that dude might even be watching.
I would like it bone stock. I'd like to be the one that ruins it the right way.
I believe it was stock turbo.
Yeah.
But it had ZZP intake and catback, like
Yeah.
a couple things that you're going to get right off
I've
the bat.
really been wanting to get in and do a Sonic, and I was thinking about this week. When we were talking about doing the Sonic podcast, I've been in and around a 1.4 for over 10 years. I got my Chevy Cruze in January 13.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You
Yeah.
got out of the market right when it got good.
I did
you
too,
did.
man. I really did, and I've literally been working on them as long as 3800. So it's as much as I'm a 3800 geek, the 1.4 is near and dear to my heart. And I mean, I remember I had the ZZP downpipe, and I was striving for parts they weren't available. But man, if I was 10 years later, I'd have been, So yeah, I'll definitely get back into one, and especially after driving our wallpaper car this week, the purple
Wall purple.
wall purple.
Ball purple.
The purple Sonic you guys see around on the website. Tim pulled it off the dyno, grin on his face. He's like, we got another 3. What'd it make? 3 and some change.
Like
304, I think.
yeah,
Tossed me the keys.
just barely
and
over 3.
Me and Al went for a rip, and
We both grinned.
yeah, I just goosed it in the parking lot, and we're like, oh yeah, it's alive. And then we did like a third gear, like 4,500 RPM roll, and it was struggling for traction in third gear all the way, to the top of third gear. And it gave you like a LNF torque feel, and I'm like, this is sick.
I'm like 95% sure I figured out what actually we felt there was that LSD is a gear type just like the LNFs are. And the thing is, they can slip a little. They can one wheel a little. And there has to be enough of a difference for it to shift all the gears and actually lock it up. And so that's exactly the line that we were on.
Okay.
That's why the wheel was kind of shaking.
It wasn't terrible. It was just like it was fun.
But yeah, the car stayed straight, but I could see it fighting you a little bit. And then it just... So that, I'll go ahead and talk about that, not in full detail, but that was some turbo R&D that we were working on. And so
with the
far,
Z04.
With the Z04, yes. So I still am not sure how, but we as a team consistently keep finding mods that are somehow all positive.
Yeah, there's no drawbacks to what we did this weekend.
And I think part of that is the car was so held back in stock form. But like this one here, we had a good hunch and went on it, and
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you listen to Zoom, this is what we've been doing since 2000. I mean, the GM left so much on the table with the 3800.
well, and the thing is, like, we keep messing with stuff.
Yeah, we're not
It's
like,
the
it's good
the
enough.
Z04 is good. It's the best turbo out there. And I 100% confidence will say that. For these cars, absolutely.
Whether if you're going to work or you're going to the track, it's the turbo to have.
Yeah, the balance of spool and reliability and the price point with everything that you get, like, it's an amazing turbo, but we can't leave well enough alone. and so I look at it and I find, like, every product is going to have something that's the limiting factor. And so this one, what we ended up testing was an upgraded turbine, and I managed to, luckily, since we stuck with the KO4 based cartridge, that we do that on purpose because there's already an aftermarket for those turbos.
Yep.
So I was able to find a different turbine that I was pretty confident was going to work, but you never know. So we put that in, and it's fully backwards compatible. So once we get these into production, that'll be something that you people that already have Z04s, you can upgrade to this cartridge and it'll fit in the current housings you have. It's a different blade profile, different blade count on the turbine, and it was all positives on the car. We dropped back pressure, we gained horsepower, and there was absolutely zero loss in how would you describe that? Like full best case scenario spool testing, like watt from a very low RPM, you couldn't even really tell a difference.
You could show the dyno sheets laid over each other of just the wheel swap to a 6-year-old and be like, what one's better? And it's so easy to point out because the whole sheet was up.
Yeah.
I've
whole sheet was up.
I've dynoed 2 different cars from 1400 RPM up. Just for science.
Yeah.
cam adjustments, turbo spool differences, like, you got to do that.
Yeah, the amount of what the observer would think was useless time that Tim and I spent on the dyno, especially Tim, it takes a lot of time to work through all the kinks with this stuff. But yeah, like Bo was saying, when you overlay the dyno graphs, it's like you just took the first one and copy and pasted it about 10, 11 horse higher from full spool on. And then actually on the street, like what Bo was saying, when you hit it from mid-range RPM or the return to boost after a shift, it is more responsive than the previous turbine was.
Yeah.
Because it's 10 grams lighter.
Yeah, a
overall.
lot lighter.
I mean, one of my favorite things with a turbo car is a manual turbo car is you'll have them sometimes where you get a build done and you'll rev out a gear, you'll bang the next gear, and it's almost like the car is accelerating before you're like done doing anything with the pedals. And that's what that what we call the wallpaper Sonic does right now, which is our livery Sonic. It just lights so fast. That Z04 is so ready to go. Like that is a fast car. What is a Sonic? 2,800 pounds, making over 300 wheel. Like anytime, like my rule of thumb is anytime a car is over whatever that ratio is of 2,800 pounds making 280 wheel horsepower. That is my point of when a car is fast.
Yeah.
As soon as you break that, knock a zero off, that's your wheel horsepower. And that car's over that right now. Like it's quick. It's a 30 mile per gallon car.
Well, let's not forget to mention it is on a bone stock engine.
Oh yeah.
With cam and valve springs.
With 100 and something thousand miles on
I didn't even remember that until after the first round of dyno testing when we broke 300 wheel torque. And then after Bo and I take it for a drive, we're pulling back in the parking lot and my stomach just drops and I'm like,
oh no.
I wasn't worried at all.
It lived.
I wasn't worried either because when a 1.4 fails, it's either a burnt valve seals, whooped seats, whooped guides, or a melted piston.
You were worried from a rod standpoint, and Randy's been on stock rods for ever.
Yeah,
for a long time.
Revving to how many? Where do you rev it to?
7,500 usually.
Yeah.
7,500 stock rods. Like so, I was not worried.
It's not like 7,500 like once a week. It's like 7,500 4 times on the way to work.
Yeah.
Like it's not being treated.
That's
nicely.
the way my car was when I had the nitrous on it.
Yep. But we should speak about the ways to build Sonics. Because,
we should.
Yeah.
So we have Al, which is like full race car.
I'm like, that's
he wants to cut
all the way. That's how.
Yeah, he wants to cut everything out of the car, no AC, and take it to the drag
turbo
strip.
the turbo.
Yeah, the turbo's the turbo.
Yep. And then you have me.
Yep.
That's like, let's turn corners as fast as possible. Let's make this a road course car. And then you have like Randy, which is like, let's make this go to a car show and win awards. Like, this is a pretty good combo of people in here.
Yeah, I'm more of I lean towards more of the OEM plus stuff.
Talk about your wiper sprayer upgrade. This is the kind of stuff Randy likes to.
I haven't
and
even
I
heard of this
respect
yet.
greatly.
So
because
anybody who's been in the Gamma 2 world for 5 or 6 years knows that the cruises have like windshield washer sprayers that are atomization versus just the 3 single nozzles basically. And when Tim put my old hood on his car, the vented one, I was like, oh, did you upgrade to the atomization sprayers? And Bo turned around like,
I was like, of course he upgraded his wiper nozzles. Like that's how Randy is.
Yeah, why wouldn't he?
And the best freaking part about it is anybody walks by the car and would never know the difference. No. But Randy's like, yep, I touched that and I touched that and that.
Well, that's like anytime we go anywhere and the one person asks me about my car, I'm like, oh, it's a carbon.
He's like, watch this, and he cleans the windshield.
Yeah, I do that basically
every time.
I'm like, no, it's got a carbon hood, carbon fenders, carbon hatch. It's all just color matched because it would make my brain itchy if the weaves didn't line up. So everything is color matched, and it's got factory heated Recaro seats in it and everything. And people are like, why? And I'm like, that's exactly why.
Yeah.
That is the reason. That's exactly why. I do all the OEM Plus stuff. Car runs, drives great. It's
Yeah.
bagged, which is cool. I mean,
Yeah, when I met Randy at Tail of the Dragon, we had met before, but like when we broed out, I told Randy, I was like, thanks for building this car because I really enjoy looking at it, and it is how I would do it if I had the time and was invested in a Sonic. So
he's
I
like,
can
thanks for doing it so I don't have to. I'm like,
But now you're going to.
you're welcome. Well, it's the same thing when I got here. Like, I love 3800s. I've been talking more and more about them and wanting to get one. And Bo and I are the same side of a different coin. Like, I want to do everything that he's done to his 3800.
Yeah.
And he just wants.
Wouldn't that be different sides of the same coin?
You know what I meant. It's early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
But
How do I make my LNF rev? Dude, there's like 100 ways. I mean, standalone capabilities out there is just real expensive.
I mean, Connor, like, of course, all the typical, if you do all the things, race block, and you do the ported head, and you do the cams and whatnot, and you put a big turbo on it, and then you're like, hey, ZZP, I've done everything, so what's my next step? And then we stage 3 cam you.
and then you can
it's
go
just-
to like
there's
80,
just-
81,
So,
8100-ish.
Yeah,
I think
that is more than enough RPM.
You just do everything.
so. I think
That's
one of
how.
the coolest parts about Tim Sonic, I mean, we could talk all day what the cool parts about Tim Sonic is, but I would say is this winter's engine build. Do you want to go into detail anything about on that? Because we think we've seen some good improvements on that. We don't have a perfect AB, but man, as far as the butt dyno says, like
Yeah. Well, basically what I did with mine was
The big block.
well,
the big block.
big block aside, and when we say
What is the leader of the 1.4? It's 1.3 what?
139, I think it's 1398 cc's.
Oh, really?
I'll-
That's
I'll-
actually really
I
close.
think it's 1398.
Generally, what I kind of get upset about is like when a manufacturer comes out with an engine, they're like, oh, it's got a 5.7 or whatever, but it's like a 5.61. And I'm like, how do you since when do you round up at 1? I thought you round up at like 0.6.
Yeah, it's
You know,
just
technically
marketing.
0.5.
But anyway, yeah, like
Five and up.
well, anything over 0.5. Like 0.5, like 5.1 would be like rounded up, let's say. But like they don't do that. They always round it up, like regardless of what it is. And I've seen numbers like a 1.39, and then they call it like a 1.5 or something. It floors me.
It's just
But
marketing.
But anyway,
I forget.
anyway.
81.5?
Anyway,
so
I'm
I put
mathing it
the-
right now.
the 1.4 is an iron block. So that means we don't have these sleeves to deal with like the Cobalt guys and the LTG guys. So you can actually bore the engine over a decent amount. So I went with our oversized diamond pistons, and I decked the block to like perfect, that. So I have like increased compression, increased cubic inch, and that spools a Z04 like a V3.
yeah, well, we got the piston to head quench right.
Yeah, we got the quench right. We got all that right. So it's like, and it's just free horsepower.
Yeah,
just
because
it just
instead of just cleaning up the deck surface on Tim's block, we took 15th thou off. I think
Yeah.
was the money to get our quench right.
yep.
And when we're working with such a small engine, it's the little things like that that add up.
Yeah, because I don't I'm 40, almost 3 years old. I don't want to deal with turbo lag anymore.
Okay.
Like I'm over it. So like when we built my engine, it was like max effort. I want to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. So that was bump the compression, bump the cubes, make sure the head is perfect. Like I kind of spent a lot on my head reconditioning it.
I mean, it's not even ported, and I think we
Yeah,
had
it's-
like almost like $800 into it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
cleaning it up, making sure it was perfect.
Yeah, like my head was like perfect, and it went all together, and it spooled my Z04 400 or 500 RPM earlier than every other customer car.
Yeah.
Like that's what paying attention to the details is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
So the stock displacement is 1364,
Okay.
and then the big block is 1402.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
yeah.
50 cc's,
That's like a whole mini bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
which
Because
is
my
kind of
thought
a lot.
was
Mm-hmm.
it's only a 1.4, so when you go a half a mil
What's
over
the
on your
percentage
piston,
on
like that's a lot.
And
Sorry.
Tim's stuff he did to his engine was notable enough that we were just talking in the shop the other day, and I was like,
Yep.
should probably build that other engine.
Yeah.
My
about
perfectly running and driving
3%.
About.
forged engine in the green car now. I'm like,
Well, Randy got this cool little Buick Encore. I mean, like, I've always liked him. I don't like what I'm afraid of is a really bad, like, center of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the Buick Encore. So he's like, I want to buy a Buick Encore, and I'm like, hell yes! Like, somebody's gonna buy one, so I get to live my mod a Buick Encore life through Randy.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh well, let me build my own big block.
Mhm.
Put it in my Sonic, and then I'll take my forged engine and throw it in the Encore. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sounds perfect.
everybody needs a Z04.
Yeah, yesterday he was showing me how fast it is, and it's terrible.
So what's cool? Your engine is 3% larger than in stock.
Okay.
And I would say that probably is directly related in horsepower numbers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
more
close to
importantly, the spool.
Yeah.
Like, I just want the spool.
Yeah,
I
see-
want the average power gain.
I like the extra 500 RPM because what Al and I are talking about for my car, we're
We're gonna need some
we're gonna
Erpums.
need some Arkhams to do
Yeah.
what we need to do. So
Like,
You're
what
gonna need to spool some stuff.
What
yeah,
I think maybe Michael Jackson might have said, what, a twin scroll
6258?
6258? Like, I
yeah.
love the sound of
Yeah.
that idea.
I mean,
like, I love
yeah,
that.
that's doable.
Make it happen. Don't look at each other and think about it. Just make it happen.
It's just
If you're
how
gonna
much
do it,
do you want to spend?
that is so
Yeah.
much turbo. That is so much turbo for a 1.4 liter.
That is such a little turbo.
Do you know that you have to twin scroll it for it to work?
Nah.
Mm,
No,
no.
just spray it.
but you can do.
I mean-
you can create spool. You can create spooled nitrous.
I-
Just a button.
Cannot compete with nitrous.
Put it on a window switch. Have it turn on
Now,
1500.
one piece of technology that I would like to get my hands on and test, Elmer Racing, those wastegated twin scroll collectors. Have you
Mhm.
seen those?
Yep.
So, I could just make one for a one-off. But what they did is it's a 4-to-1 collector for a twin scroll, but all the 4s go into the inner scroll of the turbo. And then it uses a second 2-bolt flange 38 mil wastegate to open to the other scroll directly. So you just set that for like mid-teens or whatever. And so up until that boost pressure, it sends everything through the inner scroll of
Through
the,
the
or
38.
whichever scroll you choose of the turbine, and then splits it once you're up to full boost.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So, like, here's what I've run into a lot of times with those gimmicky type things like
Well,
that. I love the sound of it, but so many people come up with neat ideas like that that actually don't perform.
so that's where I was headed next, because I'm sure Randy's familiar with the SQS, not
SKS.
SKS something.
I think that is SKS.
The quick spool valve.
Yeah.
QSV, that's what it was.
QSB. That's what it is.
So this concept had been tried before and was popular with some super guys. I think might have been the first ones that did it. And it was just a flap door on the extra scroll and a normal like wastegate actuator to open it up. And those sometimes worked, sometimes were net zero. And the Elmer Racing thing is just, if I think about if this technology is going to work, the way Elmer Racing went about it is probably the best chance at it working well.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I was headed with it.
Brian Morris asked a really good question, and we were just talking about this yesterday after
yeah.
What clutch do you run with the Z04? I have a GMPP with maybe 4,000 miles on it right now. Brian, that is the clutch you want, buddy. Tim's
Go fast, not broke.
Yeah, Tim's tried some,
Reuse it.
we've tried some stuff, and it seems like we just keep coming back to that GMPP at the end of the day, from a drivability standpoint, from a reliability standpoint, and a cost-effective standpoint on your end. So, yeah, stick with that GMPP. That Z04 ain't going to beat it up too bad. It sounds like it's probably perfectly broken in and ready for it, too.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I agree.
cost-effective, that's exactly the answer to Bill Kish's question. When I say conventional oil with the 85, I'm not saying conventional is better. I'm saying it is more cost-effective,
Because you're
because in
changing
my
it so much more.
experience, you need to change your oil more frequently with the 85
Mm-hmm.
because of the fuel contamination. And in my opinion, and I think it's pretty accepted, the main thing with synthetics is it lasts longer. And if it's going to get diluted either way, I'm just not going to pay the extra money. Because like the name brand conventionals out there are really, really good. And I'm going to pay a couple bucks less a quart when I have to change it every 3,000 to 4,000 anyway.
Yep.
I mean, it depends on your driving style for sure, though.
Yeah, if you do all highway drives,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'd probably would run synthetic.
Yeah, it's going to be the short trips on E, especially in the winter. If you're driving it 5 to 10 miles a day in the winter on E85,
E85 is not a good option for you, honestly.
Lot of moisture in the crankcase. A lot of moisture. So
Yeah, I mean, judging from my catch can on my Sonic, yeah, like E85 is you better be putting a decent amount of miles to suck that vapor, that moisture.
Yeah, that's what
out of your
Bo said is a
crankcase.
good point too. If you are someone that with any vehicle, if you only drive 5 to 10 miles a day regularly, find a way to get that thing out for a good half-hour drive at least once a week to actually get the oil all the way up to temp and boil all the water and fuel blow by out of it.
yeah, absolutely.
Your engine will thank you for it.
Yeah, in the wintertime, we're pulling a quart of water out of our catch cans per tank of fuel in a 1.4.
Like my car, I live 15 minutes away from the shop or so, and I drain my catch can once a week pretty much.
Yeah.
And so like,
and it's all water.
if you don't have a catch can, yes, that is going into your oil. But what I do want you guys to understand is like, if all you do is highway drives, like you drive an hour to work each way every day, you could probably consume a half a gallon of water in your oil in beef over that time, because your oil gets all the way up to temperature and it boils it all off and the PCV sucks it out. So
yeah, it's really good. Really good mod on a car. And don't be bummed when your catch can isn't catching things. That is perfectly okay.
Yeah, that is okay.
It is normal, and it's kind of ideal that it's not catching anything, because that means your engine is operating efficiently and there's no blow by.
Well, it could mean you have the lines wrong or a clogged line.
Well,
but assuming you've done your basic checks.
If it's just like a little bit, perfect.
We've joked about that before, because every once in a while you'll have a customer's like, "Oh no, my engine's not hurt."
You're like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
K-swap Sonic. You take that back.
Well, so there's a
That
couple...
ain't gonna be necessary.
There's a couple in Puerto Rico that I think they're interesting. Do I think they're necessary? Absolutely not.
No.
Especially with what we're doing now. Like, we have a bolt-on 300 horsepower turbo solution.
300 wheel horsepower, 30,
And we're
30
still
miles a
pushing
gallon
it.
on gas at least.
It's funny that this podcast is titled 101 Ways to Build a Sonic, because I think we'd all build it about one way.
Not wrong.
Granted, there is 100 and there's a lot of ways, but I mean, from the top, it'd be a set of valve springs in our stage 1 cam. Moving on down the line, I mean, if you wanted to go with a forged piston and something like Tim was talking about, that's great, but not needed by any means. Those are the max effort guys that are looking for that 3 to 5%. It's from a reliability standpoint, it's not necessary.
For us building our engines, it's 100% because we wring them out every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Randy, you describe a built engine very well, and what its purpose is.
Yeah, it's not going to make more power. It's going to make the same power for longer.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
I hate it when people say, "Oh, but you have a built engine," and I'm like,
good grief.
that just means that it sees 7,500 4 times on the way to work every morning.
That is
why
why we're keeping the wallpaper Sonic with that stock engine in there.
It's working good.
Because
so far so good.
We
for
just
now.
need to we need to have one car that is on a 100% stock engine that is just like, look at this car.
Yeah.
Over 300 wheel horsepower, daily driver, on pump, standard pump E85 that you get at any station. Like it's not like anybody's like, "Oh, go to this station." I mean, that car
Everything
just
around here.
gets whatever E85 is at whatever station.
Yeah.
And it works.
I'll finish, and then I want you to touch on Whittleson's question, because you're going to geek out on that. But yeah, besides the valve train upgrades, full bolt-ons are intercooler and a Z04.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Encore is getting. And
Yep.
So I bought the Encore for a winter beater.
flex kit.
That's all.
Flex
well, yeah,
kit,
flex
But
kit.
it could be included in bolt-ons.
Yep. But that's just going to be a Z04 intercooler
Yeah.
flex car that I beat the crap out of during winter.
Yeah, Tim's been seeing some really good gains on our intercooler compared to some obviously stock and other vendors. So we're super happy with that. Al has some plans for a race intercooler option.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be really cool.
I was building some tools to do that today.
I mean, just some basic, information out there. Like, I have the, I don't know, I'm not going to name drop anything, but I have the viewed as #1 intercooler available for the Sonic platform because it came with the car. And I was like, I'm going to wait until ZZP develops a race intercooler. So I'm going to leave this on there, and I'll just wait for the R&D for it to hit that spot in the line of the race intercooler.
And then Tim can raise his hand and be like, me.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, Bo, take my car. Car.
Before we do that, though, I want to run those temp probes in the couplers.
That's fine.
And so we can measure the actual
That's
drop.
fine. But our standard ZZP intercooler was half the temp increase throughout a long pull than the viewed as best intercooler on the market, in which I'm not going to say the name. But like, the viewed best intercooler is definitely not as good as ours. I'll pull it apart. Maybe there's a red rag in it from the previous owner. I don't know.
Well, it's not a
But,
photo shoot, too.
Did Finch work on it?
But I mean, maybe there's something in it. Probably not, because my car makes great power.
Yeah.
But
your car over mine, my IATs were just
amazing. Like,
But that's
our Sonic, our standard off-the-shelf Sonic intercooler the MATs will sometimes drop throughout a full throttle pull on the dyno,
which is
like
awesome.
My intercooler gained over 30 degrees every pull. That's bad.
Well,
and you start running into timing modifiers
the t-shirt
in the
I ordered
ECU
today.
on a long
Like, that's
pull.
exactly why. So so you guys, I ordered a custom t-shirt today that says, okay, but why? And a big question mark. Just because, that's how I approach things.
That is if there was a quote for Al, that would be it for sure.
And so that's why it's cool that Tim and I tackle a lot of the Sonic stuff together, because Tim sometimes will just close his eyes and punch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I need to get the information here. Slow down.
Why did that work, Tim?
Yeah, I don't know. Couldn't tell you, but it did. Yep, that was what did we do? 25 or something pulls on my car the other week.
Yeah,
we were
probably.
just a little change here, just a little change here, and we did that for basically 2 entire days.
We do a lot of dyno testing.
We were like, so many.
All right, I'm gonna pull it off and drive it home now.
Yeah, we got to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. We're done for the day. I can't beat on this car anymore.
I'm done now.
I will take a ZZP car and beat on it this much, and maybe spare your daily driver. That you drive to work every day.
That's another fun thing that gets thrown around the office a lot, because my car is my car. It is not a shop car.
I suffer from the same thing. That ZZP Regal.
Yeah. That was last year at the Dragon, people at the Dyno.
Yeah.
Well, we were at some heartbreaker dyno in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and there were some.
It was a heartbreaker until you got on. Then were some apparently it flipped the magic switch.
There were some full bolt-on LNFs there making the power that I made on the dyno, and I was like, man, I'm gonna read 220 wheel. I'm gonna have to buy a freaking Cobalt. And we get up there, and it just casual on E50 made 280, and I was like, And then everybody there was like, oh, that's a ZZP Sonic, and I was like,
yeah.
You didn't even work here yet.
I live in Virginia.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, mine
and you know what though? That's what's great is sure, call the ZZP Sonic.
Everyone knows that we make the most power.
You can have the same thing.
Yeah.
It is. That is.
You can have a ZZP
Sonic.
Randy hasn't even gotten to my cool tricks yet.
Nope.
And here's the thing,
he wants them.
Here's the thing, I don't know if people know this, and I'm pretty sure I speak for Al and Matt, and Tyler, our other tuners here, but I don't have some magic sauce I put into my personal car.
No.
You know, like we're throwing jokes around about like which of our cars are going to make the most horsepower. I mean, I'm tuning Randy's, I'm tuning mine, I'm tuning, you know, our purple shop Sonic and the other ones, but those don't have enough mods to be in our, you know, be competitive. Like I tune them all the same. Every single car I'm tuning for the max power without obviously hurting the car.
Yeah.
Like if Randy's car makes 5 more wheel horsepower than mine, that's awesome because you know what? I'm the one that's tuning it. ZZP's the one that's making the parts. Like, you know, I have zero cares. Obviously, I would like my car to make more power, but I'm not gonna like sacrifice.
A point
somebody
to add
else's.
into that though is, I wish this is just words. People can choose whether to believe me or not. But the thing is, we tune the same way on like our flagship cars.
Yeah.
The same way we
Well,
would tune a customer car.
To be honest, like our flagship drag cars are way more aggressive than a customer car would be.
Right. I'm gonna get to that context. So I'm trying to figure out how.
Choose your words. Yeah.
Every single vehicle has a story, and the tune has to include that.
Yep, I know where you're going. Yep.
So the fact that the drag car is more aggressive is not out of lack of concern for the engine or out of holding anything back from a customer. It is the fact that that car does one specific thing. It is built for a very specific job, and I know exactly what the limits are within there that I can work within. And that allows me as a tuner to comfortably work up into that range. When we're, even if it's like the blue car that's on the dyno, that is still a ZZP shop car. It does not get tuned the same way that the drag car does, because it gets driven on the street and has all types of varying load and random fuels that you could run into, and like all of that has to be accounted for. And we're not sitting in the car when competitors dyno test their stuff, so I can't speak for what they do. But when Tim and I are on the dyno tuning, like doing dozens and dozens of pulls on these cars for R&D, we're tuning it the exact same way that we would a customer car. Because we're not going to give that car an unfair advantage for some R&D dyno numbers that aren't replicable on a customer build.
Yep.
Like that would defeat the purpose.
A good thing about getting aggressive with the Drag Sonic specifically, or any of our other flagship cars, maybe Matt's ATS, is we get aggressive with those, so we kind of do get familiar with those limits, so that we don't.
There
have
are
to
times
do that
we
on
are
your...
trying to find a limit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There
You
are
know?
times where the boss Zoom tells us to find the limit.
He told me to do that with the Sonic a year ago, and I haven't been able to break it yet. But it's because I'm trying to do it the right way.
Exactly what Matt M said. You know, our
Yes.
and
That's
when
a
he
very
says
good way of saying it.
when he says the drag car, like he's kind of speaking for like the drag Sonic, his drag ATS, his drag Grand Prix, like Zoom's car, like exactly like those cars aren't going to go to Joe Schmo's gas station in the middle of Egypt to put some maybe 93 in it, like loaf and jug fuel. Like, that's our joke around the shop. It's all these cars, like all those cars get like good fuel.
Yeah, Kylo made a good point. That's a really good way of saying that too. When the more control you have over the parameters, like it's not. It doesn't allow you to go crazy. It just okay. I know where the boundaries are, so you can work within them.
Yeah, and like, and please don't change your driving style based on me saying this, but if you send us a scan of you doing 4 retracted, if you send us a scan of you doing 4 top speed runs, we're probably going to tune your car slightly different than the guy that sends us a 15-minute log with like one good full throttle pull of like 2 or 3 gears,
throttle and everything.
Yeah,
like when we send you like a 1.0 and then the next log we get back is 3 back-to-back 60 to 120s. you can for sure know that we're gonna pull.
Minus,
we're gonna pull that
minus,
back.
minus.
Yeah, because when you blow up your car, you're gonna say, "Well, ZZP did this," and we're no, certainly didn't. We gave you a 1.0 file, and you went out to the streets of Mexico and decided to be an idiot.
Yeah,
Man, like if Matt, Al, and I like combined our scans to show what these people do,
and the range of driving styles.
Yeah,
like my first revision tune is like, I don't know, like whatever the lowest, like barely more than stock boost, because I'm like, it is so important to see that first scan back from the customer.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? What fuel do you have in the car? You know, and I've had polls to where literally I've had polls, scans of customers with 5 like 0 to top speed runs within 20 minutes. To where we'll pass these scans around the shop as jokes, like, how did this guy even do this many top speed runs in this given amount of time?
Yep.
Like, and that's fine. You know, I was 16 once. I did that. You know, but
I remember my first beer, that type of thing.
Like, you can't do that, people. Like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
And don't like, you know, and anybody you loan your vehicle to, like, make sure that they know, like, if you put 93 in it, it's going to cost me $5,000. It's going to cost me $10,000. Like, you know, if you loan your vehicle out, these people need to know, do not put 87 in it.
Yeah.
Hey, mom. Hey, you know, significant other. Like, do not put anything other than premium in this vehicle.
Yeah.
So, how about anything back to just ways to build? We've done a lot of the
we did have
stuff.
a topic for this podcast.
We went down the tune wormhole, and then how about brake upgrades? Because I know customers, it can be a little confusing on maybe what you need, and I think everybody maybe just wants to go for the biggest kit available, and that may not always be the case.
Maybe you want the lightest kit
for more than one reason, and the same goes for a coilover or a spring option, and what kind of sway bars you want to go into. I would let Randy kick off the brake stuff.
So, probably because I'm the one with the biggest brakes here.
Well, I mean, yeah. What's funny is Tim runs a stock caliper, I think, right?
Are you on stock
brakes.
Pads.
I just have fancy pads and fluid.
So mine is literally. Like, I have our big 12.6 kit on my car, and it was like 80% for pad swappability for me. It takes me 20 minutes to change pads.
That is a great point. So what Randy's referring to is you don't have to pull the whole caliper off.
Yeah, it's a monoblock caliper. You pop 2 pins out, you slide the pads out.
Yeah. So if you got your track boy pad, you can put those in. If you got your daily pad, because it is essential. You can't daily drive on a track pad.
No, you can't.
Well, you certainly shouldn't.
Randy does.
I mean,
Randy goes school bus into every single stoplight.
Sounds like I'm stepping on a bag of cats.
And just so you guys know, in case you don't know, track pads squeal like crazy under normal driving conditions, as well as like
they're
that
dirty.
First touch of the brake pedal, you're like, oh crap, what happened with my brakes? My brakes don't work.
Yeah,
you got to get heat in them. Yep.
You have to get some heat in them, or the brake pedal just doesn't work, and that's pretty scary.
I have a G-Lock R18 pad compounds on the front of my car, and you would swear my front wheels are black. My wheels are very much bronze.
What didn't I just make a comment about your black wheels, and you're like
black wheels, and I was like, well, they're actually bronze. I just do a lot of.
You got all the bougie car wash and stuff too, bruh.
He's got too many spokes.
I've got a lot. A lot of spokes. And also, I have a real race car now. I just drive the Encore around. But Tim has stock RS brakes with a good pad.
Kind of blows my mind.
Works.
The 12 kit's really good.
Yeah,
I'm really like that kit, and if you're just like, hey man, you're doing some brakes, you don't want to just buy the stock replacement. The 12 kit's super good. It fits behind a lot of wheels because that's what you're going to run into. That Brembo caliper is beefcakes
thick
to clear.
Yeah, thick.
I cannot run it on my Yankees.
Absolutely not. I have a hard time clearing on a W body with a 9.5-inch wheel. You know, like the offset and the spoke design becomes extremely important. So yeah, it's a huge commitment to bump up to that Brembo kit, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah, you will never run anything smaller than a 17 ever again.
That as well. That as well. Plus, you
And
got to get into
Jason,
lines.
that's how I drive my Sonic too. Like I drive it like a grandpa, and then when I get on it, it is
So he asked earlier,
$2,800.
What do you get for
every gear.
what's a full bolt-on Z04 Sonic get for fuel mileage on
man.
E85?
There's a lot of math involved here.
That directly depends on the mile an hour down to the single digit.
Oh man,
Let's
so
not-
much.
Calm down. We'll
We'll simplify it.
Heavy
We'll simplify it.
breathing.
Hatchbacks suck. Hatchbacks immediately like 3 miles per gallon off the top, if
Or more.
or more. So a cruise does better. Sedan. Man, I hate saying Sonic sedan because they're all 4 doors, but you know what I mean when I
Sonic not
say
hatch.
sedan. Yeah, a non-hatchback. Those get 3 more miles per gallon. My car with like fully modded making 300 wheel is getting around 24 and a half, 25 miles per gallon
on full E.
on full E.
Yeah.
Yeti is pretty comparable. I
On
remember seeing-
gas, 29 and a half to 30 miles per gallon.
So when I drove Yeti all winter, and if you guys aren't familiar with the Yeti, it's full catalog bolt-on Z04 car.
Yep.
Auto
And I
car.
ran corn in that for sure. Being a knucklehead back to work, 80-mile round trip, it was 24 to 26.
And Bo definitely drives more aggressive than
I drive
me,
like
and
you guys.
Like,
Oh yeah, and that's
I
the
get
thing.
22.
That the Yeti with the cruise at 70 will get low 30s on the 85.
oh, I believe it.
So you changed the driver.
I believe it.
Yeah, I've done it. Like
You know that's that
Grandpa over
sedan.
here.
You know, and just in case you guys like didn't put it together, like the hatchback is just terrible aero.
yeah.
It's a doorstop.
At 70, it can still do like near 30 on the 85.
Yeah.
But everything over 70 just kills it. You cruise at 80 and it's getting like 20, 21.
Well, we've talked about this. You're literally flickering a pound to 2 pounds of boost at
Yeah.
80
Oh, yeah.
plus miles an
Yes.
hour on the highway. And, I mean, it's using fuel if it's in boost.
Yeah, Jesse Enzer, you know, he's full bolt-ons. Like,
He's got our forged one for.
yeah, Forge. He's got a big block too.
He
Alright.
does.
Jesse Enzer's got our big block, and yeah, I'm tuning it. I think we're at like 22 pounds right now, on the way up. Everything looks good so far. But yeah, I totally believe his numbers there. It's, you know, those sedans, the Cruise and the sedan Sonics, great gas mileage.
Yeah,
I totally
if
believe
you
30.
specifically were buying for a highway gas mileage, probably would go with cruise.
I would love to take a like Cruise Eco and do like kind of do like a Yeti build on it, like maybe a Z04 stock. You know what? I already did the testing just to answer this, just in case anybody's wondering. I tested in my Sonic stock injectors, 60s and
Green
42s.
42s. Green 42s.
Green 42s. And the gas mileage was exactly the same. Like arguably, like we're talking tenths
Yeah.
of a difference. So it doesn't matter. Injector size, as long as you're green 42s, stock or 60s, you're good. 80s, after Al showed me the spray pattern, I'm assuming 80s are probably not going to be as good. But you know, it's not always just a visually answered that simply.
And
Anybody,
the thing,
anybody running 80s is going to be signed up for that anyway.
Yeah, in 80s, like when Randy, me, and our Purple Sonic are making over 300 wheel on 60s, like I don't think many customers are doing that. And please beat me, because the only way you're gonna beat my number is if you're running ZZP parts. And I am not going to hold you back. I guarantee you I will not hold you back. If anybody's willing to run all of our parts.
I posted on one of the Gamma pages the other day. I was like, it's an open invite. If you're
Yes.
anywhere close to 131,
oh yeah.
I will take my daily Sonic and go up against any GTX car. 250,
Yeah.
14 if you want to cry,
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess.
at this point, they're nearly 100 wheel behind us. So
Yeah.
Like, and it's so
a
this is the
100
thing.
wheel in the car makes 100 wheel stock. So
Yeah. Like I'm not like
But
It's so bad.
But a GTX 250 spools maybe 100 RPM quicker. So you'll make like 10
I'll take
more
100
horsepower at like 3,000 RPM than a Z04. That's all
I
you
was-
get. Everything else is way more with the Z04.
I remember when you handed me the keys to that car, and I had no idea what it was. And as soon as I drove it, I was so confused because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Because
Is this a broken V3?
It was like the power V3 and the
Kinda.
lag of a Z04.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this?
And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people know it's not like just because we are opposing companies, like I'm just bashing the other one. I am genuinely inviting you.
Yeah, it's
131.
It's a welcome invite.
Yeah, I'm not angry. I'm just curious because there's so many people on the internet that think this.
Let's kick it.
With
Yeah, I'll buy you a hot dog.
yeah, bring 3, 4,
Dude,
5.
the hot dogs at 131
Like-
are smacking.
We'll do this. By that time, when somebody actually ponies up, we'll do it against one of our Z04 Sonics, and then after that, I'll do it with my Z04 Encore.
Oh yeah. There
I might even leave the all-terrains on.
we go. Yeah.
All right, now you're getting sassy.
just come up.
Here's the thing is that we already did this test. We already raced a Z04 automatic ZZP car versus my personal V3 Sonic, and I kind of got my butt handed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like my manual tranny Sonic, which I'm sorry, auto guys, but like the manual trannies always make more horsepower. But I'm telling you, the Z04 like makes up that difference and some, because me, the tuner of both of those cars, my own car lost to the Z04.
I was really disappointed by that too, because a lot of the other modern GM transmissions have gotten way better in parasitics, but somehow the Sonic, that engine transmission family just did not get whatever updates those were.
No.
Even locking the converter.
Yeah.
In theory, locking the converter should make it a manual tranny. Nope.
Yeah.
There's still pump losses.
There's still losses in
Rotating
there.
mass. Adam Project mentions, dang, you're all making me want a Sonic. And
I know, they do that.
300 wheel and 30 MPGs, why wouldn't you want one?
Adam Project has a Cobalt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, here's my 2 cents on this. Like,
yeah, so for the
if
guys
you
coming
have
from
a Cobalt and it's fully modified, like, don't sell your Cobalt to buy a Sonic, because maybe depending on what you're doing, like if you want to turn corners, I think a Sonic has an edge on a Cobalt. If you want to roll race, sorry, the Cobalt's always going to win.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're talking a lot, like
For now.
we all at this table love Sonics.
Yeah.
We love freaking Sonics. But a Cobalt,
They got to stay in their
still,
lane.
Yeah.
A Cobalt is still like one of the fastest 4-cylinder cars ever freaking made.
Like,
and it's very underrated.
Yeah.
Like-
I'm still
like-
looking for an SS sedan. If anybody has one for sale, let me know.
So, like, in context of the vehicle staying in their appropriate roles,
Yeah.
like, I love Sonics, and I think they're right, and I love half-mile racing. But if you told me a half-mile Sonic, I would laugh so hard that I would cry and have that thing where the back of your head hurts really bad. Because it's like, no, that is not what Sonics do.
Aerodynamically, absolutely not.
And, like, the trans options and the engine, like, no.
Cynical Simpson, buy the Z04, put it on the car, have me tune it, because I don't know what these other tuners are doing. But have me tune a Z04 on your car, and you probably won't sell it. Like, I just...
Oh, yeah.
You won't, like, the only way you sell it is if you're like, I want to do roll races, bro.
So-
then I'm going to be like, well, you might want to buy an LNF Cobalt.
The only caveat is that currently, it's enough that customers should know with the auto cars on the Z04, there's a little bit of a hesitation because the stock converter is so tight. Once you're driving,
yeah, but we're working on that.
Well, that's
We're
the thing.
ZZP. We're working on that.
ZZP.
Yeah.
We have quite a bit invested into that so far, and we are in the middle of that project,
I love
Right,
going,
primarily-
and we're not going to stop.
Like on
Primarily L, but yes, we are working on the automatic, like 0 to 25 mile an hour issue of maybe the Z04.
That's like 4 mile an hour.
But like,
that's a problem with every GM auto car.
and it's not that an auto can't go fast with it, because we've already run really good times with a Z04. It's just like when you're taking off from a traffic light, you don't probably want to stand on the foot brake for 5 seconds.
Right.
You know, so having addressing the normal daily use of 0 to 25 is going to be big.
Well, obviously, we have to do it in a way that makes sense.
The Z04 also, I mean, this might as well just speak 101 ways to use a Z04.
Yeah.
But
Quite versatile.
it makes really good noises.
Oh,
Yeah.
It'll like you'll put it like if you buy one and you put it on, you're gonna pull out of your driveway, and you will not be able to not smile because
much less hairdryer sound.
Oh, it sounds like a real boy turbo because it kind of is. But I mean,
Yep. Like people always want to like joke around, like just driving around on the street or whatnot. But if you hear like my car or Tim's car like spool up next to you, you're like,
What is that?
maybe don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Control Z.
like the best you're gonna do is beat a Sonic, and the worst you're gonna do is have to
Lose
sell
to
your
the
Mopar.
Yeah.
So
That is my favorite part right there. Us Sonic guys, we have nothing to lose.
they're just little scrappers, man.
Right.
Like,
And Tim's doing the whole close his eyes and punch thing.
Enter says, "Awesome sound. It is verbal.
yeah, it
Is
is a
all I-
very talkative turbo.
It's
Yeah.
It's like you. It's the type of turbo where you will not need to turn the radio on the way to work.
no,
Yeah, it's
And-
fun.
Oh, yeah.
like I have a really nice audio system in my car, and I'm like,
Oh.
windows down.
Here comes a tunnel.
It's like 36 degrees outside, and I'm driving to work like with the windows down.
Yup.
I remember we had this was this winter when I was building or when I was driving Yeti a lot for R&D miles and just I had a couple buddies who wanted to go look at a car, and it was about an hour drive, and I'm like, hey man, I'll drive. I got the Cruise, and these are two of my good friends who had ridden in my old Cruise, and so we hit the road, and the first thing is like they hear the Z04 just. I wasn't even being an idiot.
Mhm.
It's just like chooching along, and he's like,
Bro, what?
It just that just is normal. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, sick.
Love that.
You know, and then we're just
Exactly.
we took a road trip to just buy a car and back, and yeah, it was all they could not get over the noise that car makes, and it's legit.
Cody's asking about what I was talking to you about earlier, Al. With the he's spinning the engine over by hand with no oil pressure, and he's worried about his timing chain slack.
Slack
I
without
basically-
the engine on, you're gonna have some.
Yeah, I
Right.
went to Al and I'm like, hey, how normal is that? I'm pretty sure it's pretty normal. And then he was like, yeah, the phasers are dry.
Yep.
They're not
Phasers are
pressurized.
dry and the
tensioner's
tensioner's dry.
The
Yeah.
tensioner's dry now.
With no oil pressure, you're gonna have a little bit. So.
Yeah, so that's normal. Just redo your timing. Get rid of that like teens code.
Yeah,
PO teens code are always
let me
your timing change
nerd
wrong.
out on this for a second. So the oil pressure, it goes into the chain tensioner, and it also has a check valve on the back of it, so it can go in but not out. And the oil is a non-compressible fluid. So once your engine is up and running and that piston fills up with oil, there is no slack in the chain. Like the only reason you're seeing that is because you have the engine off and you're turning it over slowly. And you're getting to a point where the valve springs are trying to make the cam go forward, and so you see that slack in between the two. And that doesn't happen when the engine's running because the tensioner takes all the slack out of the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
As far as how much is allowed to be there when the engine's off, I have no idea. You could wiggle the tensioner and make a difference in that.
Yeah.
If you think it's bad, just put a new chain and gears and stuff on.
Like with my Cobalt, I was like, feels good.
Yep.
If you ever-
Noah Hammock. Yeah, right around there. 22 to 24 is max. But every
Well, it
turbo,
depends.
every turbo has a max PSI given the flow that it's making.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
with our cammed 1.4s, 22 to 24 PSI is pretty much max for that compressor wheel. We'll obviously work on things, but like as of right now, like nobody's going faster. So like I kind of hate it when people are like, "Oh, 22 PSI is it?" You're not even there. You're not
Good
even
point.
there. Why are we talking about the limits
Yeah.
of like the Z04 when
Yeah.
there's not enough people running 12s in their Sonics yet? Like, how about buy it
That
and
needs
run
to
it?
become a commonplace thing. There's no
Like it floors me.
We went bottom 12s with the Z04.
Yeah,
So full weight, there's no reason you couldn't be in the 12s.
yeah.
But I laughed at the way the question was phrased because like, we run 46 in the drag car last year, and
Yeah.
I'm going to run a good bit more than that if I can get away with it this
Not
year.
on a Z04, but
Well,
No, because it fully depends on the turbo.
Yeah.
it's
Well, and the other
limited
thing-
by the turbos.
The other thing is max boost. I get it all the time with 3800 guys who put a turbo on their car and like, oh, we need to run 20s for boost because that's what the fast guys do. I'm like, well,
there's this thing called efficiency.
Yeah, that and whether it's a Z04 or a Sonic or a 3800 or an LSJ, you don't have the fuel system for it. So
Five already.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know,
I just came up with like a really good analogy for that, but
you could call.
I don't think it's
you could call it the limits of the turbo, but I mean, commonly, the way we've modded most of our cars, it's the limits of the fuel system as well, or the math.
The limits of the flow and the limits of the octane per the mods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It gets really technical, but
there's so many variables.
Yes, there's so many variables because one thing I like about supercharged builds is
I was just thinking that it's so much more simple.
So much simpler on a supercharged car because on a supercharged car, like Zoom's car is running 12 to 14 maybe psi a boost. You know, I'm sure it's not that, but like let's use that as an example. So let's say this full max effort, everything done supercharged car is making 12 to 14 pounds of boost, and that's it. 15 pounds of boost is not making a single extra horsepower. If you run 12 to 14 pounds of boost on a stock GTP, the first time you floor it, you're probably going to melt a piston.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you have to look at it. Like your engine has to flow. As your engine flows,
all boost is not created equal.
Yeah, like as your engine flows, you can make more power at the same exact boost level. Yep. That's why supercharged cars have smaller pulleys. Mm-hmm. As you add flow mods, your boost drops because that engine flows and it's more efficient.
It's just a big air pump.
Yeah, it's just a big air pump.
Yeah, like you take a regular LSJ, small pulley stock cams, do a dyno pull, swap the cams, your boost goes down and your power goes up because it moved more air.
People are so stuck on this number.
Yeah.
What's cool?
I don't understand.
But then what's cool is your boost goes down, let's say 2-3 pounds. Now you can run a pulley that much smaller to get that 2-3 pounds, maybe 4 pounds more. And it makes even more power.
Yep.
So you can have a GTP making 12 pounds, making 460 wheel horsepower because I've done it. I tuned Zoom's car, making 460 back in the day at 13 and a half pounds of boost.
Yeah.
And then you can put 13 and a half pounds of boost on a bone stock GTP and make 215 and probably have to rebuild it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the piston went.
But you can pull that right back into all the Sonic stuff we're doing. Is like we got the turbos kind of out ahead of everything else, and now the flow of the engine has caught up to the point that now we need to make the turbos flow even more.
We kind of put the carriage
which
before
is
the
an
horse
obstacle
before.
I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how we started off with this. Like we keep finding new things, and it's like, oh crap, this was never gonna be a bottleneck, but now it is because we gained so much over here.
Yeah, because before we started with the head stuff, we were like, we'll do cams, we'll do porting, blah blah blah. How did we lose power?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And here's another
one.
The head's the limiting factor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here's another thing. If somebody comes to you and they're like, I've got, I want to race you. I've got a Volkswagen that makes 22 pounds of boost. Like that.
What does that mean?
That told me absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because
Nothing
you
useful.
can have a stock car making 22 pounds, and that doesn't mean it makes that doesn't even mean it makes 200 wheel horsepower.
Yep.
Or you can have a freaking turbo big block V8 making 5 pounds of boost, but it makes 2,000 horsepower.
The drag car on its shakedown run made 280 and change on 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a Sonic. Okay.
Boost PSI
a
means
1.4
nothing.
Sonic made mid 280s on 15 pounds of boost.
Yep. Is it 22 pounds on
So
a
there
KO4
you go.
or 22 pounds on a Super 102?
Right.
Yes. And an engine that flows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could put that Gigano turbo on the Sonic and it's probably going to run a 15 because it's never going to spool.
Yeah.
You have to have an appropriate size turbo. You have to have an appropriate size or appropriate flowing engine. Yeah. And then now we can talk about boost.
Yeah. Get caught up on the efficiency, not the boost PSI.
Yeah.
Yes, it is 4D chess. And every time you move a piece, the bottom drops out of 4 other ones.
That. Every time.
Every time.
Any last
That's
bits?
why we spent so much time on the dyno.
Any last rants, boys?
Oh, so many, but it's
I
507.
I ranted enough.
Nah, I'm feeling great about all this. I'm so excited to
Yep.
find some new cool
Let
stuff.
Noah know he's not dumb, please. Tell him we
Oh,
love
wait.
him too.
Oh
No.
yeah,
Oh,
no, it's not your fault. We're
Noah,
just-
everybody at this table didn't know that at one point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like-
Don't feel dumb because everyone else in the chat that's pretending along, they didn't know either.
And
And like,
Adam
there's
Project,
so much more to it than what we even said.
Adam Project, I had a 92 Eclipse making 24
Ooh.
PSI that made 260 wheels.
People
So
don't-
yes,
people don't
that was like
understand.
1999 or 2000. But still, like
This
yes,
is the
I was that guy.
GSX king here.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
yeah,
but-
no,
But also, like, you could take a stock 3800 and take a hammer to the tailpipes and make it make 20 pounds of boost.
That flow.
It's a
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
Right there.
It doesn't flow and
Yeah.
it's supercharged. When you have a mechanical supercharger,
That pump is gonna pump.
that pump is pumping.
Yeah.
You know,
Pumping.
a turbo car is different. Your your boost controller looks for 20 pounds. It
Yep.
doesn't know if it's making 1,000 or if it's making 150 wheel
It's just
horsepower.
making atmosphere.
It's just making atmosphere different pressures.
That's why blowers suck. They're so dumb. I'm gonna pump. At least turbos take other things into account.
Yeah, like centrifugals are a little different.
Oh,
like,
yeah, they're the worst of both worlds.
Well, all right,
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
going down this road.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
We need
all right.
overtime
We're-
section.
we're
We
overtime.
are. So I just want to let you guys know this week we're doing more Sonic stuff. We're always
I have
doing
so
Sonic
much
stuff.
Sonic
Oh,
stuff to
it's
do.
not stopping.
We got trans stuff. We got converter stuff.
Mhm.
We got cam stuff. We
Yeah.
got turbo stuff.
stuff.
Next
Yep.
week we're gonna. I mean, I don't know what.
Ooh,
Is-
we have ignition stuff now too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
more,
yeah.
just more.
There's
Ideas
There's a
and-
carrot. What are you doing this weekend, Al?
Thinking about Sonic stuff, probably.
This dude just goes home and just.
Yeah.
I get a
it's-
message at
it's
3
a
a.m. and
problem.
I was like, "You up?" And I'm like, "Oh no."
Here we go. Buckle in, Randy.
I'm getting the moose on the road, and
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna.
are.
Yes.
Drive it in on Monday.
Yep, I'm gonna go and hang out with some Sonics at.
He's
our-
gonna get the engine running and find out the trans shit at the same time.
Poor 65E. Bye.
Yeah, get the moose running. We're gonna, and then I'll go hang out with all my Sonic bros, and we're gonna go to the autocross next week. So we'll probably be ranting about that a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
too.
Going to Berlin
Yep,
next
Wednesday.
week.
Yeah,
Hey, any Michigan guys? Berlin Raceway Wednesdays. I don't know, every month or every 6
it seems
weeks
like
or
the
something.
last
Week.
Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, last Wednesday.
They do like this really cool autocross. Like I don't really
Track
do
cross.
autocrosses. It's like a track cross, yeah. It's a lot of fun. You know, we're showing up pretty deep.
Yeah, we
you
got
know,
8 guys going on, and I think they only let 30 in, so we're gonna be like ZZP.
You know,
Represent.
I know Saturday. You know, I'm watching. Qualifying F1, and Sunday. You know,
Oh, dude,
F1
I
race.
forgot. We're going to Dirt
And
Fest.
Saturday
Oh,
we're
yeah,
doing
you guys are
Midwest
going-
Dirt Fest.
You guys are going to Dirt Fest.
Are you
yeah.
going to Dirt Fest
I
with us?
certainly am not.
Dude, it's dune trucks on a gigantic like motocross track.
Yeah. If anybody's hitting up Dirt Fest, look out for me and Tim. We'll kick
I'll
it.
come with you
Yeah.
to Dirt Fest if you bring the F-150.
And leave it there.
Oh, stop. We'll make bribes later. What are you doing this weekend, Randy?
My in-laws are coming into town, so I'm hanging out with those nice folks. I'm gonna
Washing the
probably-
front wheels on the Sonic?
Yep, just the front wheels.
The rear ones are clean.
Yeah, the backs are great. No, I will do some Sonic stuff. I'm doing some interior bits on my car. I'm doing some cooling mods on my blue car, the Encore.
We need a better name for Encore.
It's the Blueberry for me. That's
The
what
Buick,
plate-
man.
That's what the plate says.
Blueberry.
Yeah.
I like it. All right.
Blueberry.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're always
Blueberry jam.
we're always happy to rant some Sonic stuff at you guys.
Oh.
Clearly, we're passionate.
It's all day.
I don't know what
we'll
next
rant
week.
some Cobalt stuff
Yeah,
too.
I don't
mean,
know
yeah.
what next week has in store, but we'll be here, brothers.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Oh, my ear bones.